Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, wow, we've received a monumental stack of source material. It's all focused on, well, high drama, deeply guarded family secrets, and some really serious life or death stakes. And it's all playing out within the, let's be honest, ridiculously wealthy and often treacherous world of the bold and the beautiful.
That's putting it mildly.
Our sources today feel less like typical show recaps, they're more like a speculative true crime dossier. It's almost like an FBI profile for a crime that most observers think isn't just possible, but imminent, maybe even inevitable.
The tension is really thick. You can feel it, even just reading these analyses.
Yeah, it's palpable even from outside the TV screen. So, our mission today is pretty straightforward, but it feels weighty. Our listener is clearly intensely curious about all the speculation swirling around a major character's current pregnancy. We need to unpack these theories, dig into the specific, often kind of lethal motives, and really understand why it seems like everyone in the B&B universe, Spencers, Logans, Forresters, might be, well, plotting against a pregnant woman.
It sounds extreme when you say it like that.
It does. So, okay, let's unpack this properly. The absolute focus is on Luna Nasawa, her, let's call it controversial pregnancy, and this just overwhelming, unanimous feeling from analysts, from fans, that she might not actually survive this whole ordeal.
Yeah, the sources are incredibly consistent on that point.
They really are. They're absolutely convinced Luna is living on borrowed time and that clock is just ticking down fast. So the core question for this deep dive is really, why is Luna seen as such an existential threat to these incredibly powerful families? And crucially, who among the Los Angeles elite is actually capable of taking what the sources call drastic action, meaning permanently removing her and her unborn child?
You know, what's fascinating here is we're looking at like the ultimate version of a classic soap trope, right?
Okay.
The unexpected, highly contested pregnancy that just flips the power dynamic of the entire show on its head. And the sources, they aren't just hinting at a plot twist. They lay out this really robust, compelling case for, frankly, premeditated violence.
Yeah.
Driven by this intersection of legacy preservation, personal revenge, and just this deep, consuming regret from multiple major players. This isn't just one angry character. You know, the sources suggest it's almost like a family consensus building that Luna has to be neutralized.
Neutralize, that's a strong word.
It is.
Hey.
And we've synthesized a lot of material, but it broadly points to one of two really high-stakes outcomes. First, Luna dying while pregnant. That's the big, dramatic, possibly criminal exit.
Right.
The second, and the sources stress this is pretty common on this show, is she suffers some kind of near-death experience and a miscarriage.
The classic soap miscarriage reset.
Exactly. At a well-worn path for resolving tricky pregnancies. But, and this is key, the sheer number of characters with actual homicidal motives this time. It really suggests a more permanent solution might be on the table for maximum long-term drama.
Okay, so it could go either way, but violence seems almost certain.
To understand that high probability of violence, we really have to start with the central, immediate conflict, that pending paternity test. This single result is the absolute trigger. It's what turns Luna from just a nuisance into an immediate high-priority target for basically the entire Forrester-Logan-Spencer alliance.
Okay, let's establish that ticking clock. It seems like it has the whole of LA high society completely on edge. Analysts are pointing to the paternity test results coming either like right at the end of this current week of episodes, or, and this feels very soap opera, as a massive Friday cliffhanger spilling into the following Monday.
The classic move.
Yeah, it feels like the entire storyline is just converging on this one piece of DNA evidence.
Absolutely.
And the specifics of how the test is being done really highlight the stakes, don't they? This isn't happening off screen in some anonymous lab.
No, not at all.
The sources detail how Katie Logan, acting out of, deep family concern, specifically brings in Bridget Forrester, who's a doctor and a key family member, to conduct the DNA test privately at the Spencer mansion, right there, on site, between Will Spencer and Luna.
And that procedural detail is so vital. Keeping the test results internal, private like that, it just heightens the potential for the outcome to trigger an immediate, maybe untraceable, and definitely extreme reaction.
Yeah, no time to cool off.
Exactly. There's no cooling off period, no public announcement where maybe diplomacy could step in. It's contained. It's a family secret waiting to explode.
Okay.
And here's the consensus prediction running through basically all the speculative reports we've seen. The prevailing theory, overwhelmingly, is that the test will confirm Will Spencer is the biological father.
Now, hold on, because here's where it gets really interesting for me. Why is Will being the father seen as the worst possible outcome? You'd think maybe a Spencer heir, a legacy baby, and some twisted soap opera logic that might be celebrated, right?
You might think that, yeah.
But the sources unanimously frame this paternal link as an absolute disaster for the whole family infrastructure, but especially for the Spencers and the Forresters.
Well, the disaster isn't really the baby itself. It's the package deal it represents.
Oh, okay.
If Will is confirmed as the father, analysts argue Luna essentially achieves, like, total victory. She secures a Spencer heir, gets her hooks into the family, and she gets Will stuck with her forever as a co-parent. In a way the family just can't easily annul or erase. She gains this permanent, irrevocable access, this power, within one of the show's most prominent, powerful, and let's face it, historically judgmental families.
Right. She's in. Permanently.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that outcome, if it happens, instantly turns the lives of key people. Electra Forrester, Steffi Forrester, Bill Spencer, completely inside out. It cements Luna's position. And remember, this is a woman they believe essentially coerced or even attacked Will while he was intoxicated to manufacture this whole situation.
They're not seeing this as a love child.
Oh, definitely not. The sources use incredibly harsh language, really specific rhetoric, even claiming she basically molested Will and forced this horrible future on him.
Wow. That kind of language, that strong, almost violent phrasing, it really confirms the fever pitch of the animosity here. It's not just dislike.
Yeah.
It's like a moral condemnation that, in their eyes, justifies the most extreme response possible.
Precisely. And the broader sort of systemic resistance is crucial to grasp, too. Analysts point out it's just hard to imagine Bill, the Forresters, the Logans simply putting up with Luna being on the loose indefinitely, carrying a Spencer baby.
They wouldn't just accept it.
Not likely. This pregnancy stops being just personal drama for Will. It fundamentally threatens the entire family legacy structure. It binds the, highly respected Spencer line to a woman they see as manipulative, criminal, and ultimately irredeemable.
So the baby becomes a symbol of her infiltration.
Exactly. Therefore, the primary motivation for violence becomes crystal clear. It's almost like a narrative mandate. If Will is confirmed as the father, someone needs to intervene. Immediately. Violently. To free Will from Luna forever, before she can fully leverage that baby for power and access.
So the paternity result is the trigger.
The inevitable paternal link is predicted to be the absolute trigger for a high-stakes physical confrontation. It lights the fuse.
Okay, so with that motive firmly established, freeing Will, protecting the family name, we absolutely have to turn to the potential perpetrators. Who's going to do it?
Right.
And our first suspect is a literal powerhouse, a character with a deeply documented history of extreme, often lethal actions. Bill Spencer.
Or Bill, yeah.
The sources suggest Bill, the moment he learns that paternity truth, may snap. And they say it with shocking certainty. He would definitely kill Luna.
That's blunt.
It is. And it's not based on just, simple rage. It's grounded in a historical pattern of behavior, one that shows absolute disregard for human life when his family or his interests are threatened.
We've seen it before.
We really have. And we need to remind you, the listener, about Bill's history here, because the sources use it as a definitive predictor of his future actions. He is, as the sources chillingly put it, not opposed to hurting a pregnant chick. We have to revisit that infamous incident with Amber Moore Forrester.
That history lesson is absolutely essential because it removes any moral ambiguity about what Bill is capable of. Bill literally tried to kill Amber Moore when she was pregnant.
Yeah.
Purely because she was lying, trying to manipulate the family, claiming the child was Liam's. The sources really detail the severity. The fact she was pregnant, potentially carrying his own family's heir, that didn't stop him, not one bit. He was, and this is the exact phrase used, ready to drop her off a balcony.
Just like that, to eliminate the threat she posed to Liam's future.
Exactly. So this establishes a clear, horrifying precedent. Bill has shown absolutely zero hesitation in using potentially lethal violence against a pregnant woman when he sees her as a manipulator threatening his son's stability. That emotional or moral barrier that stops most people. It just doesn't seem to exist for Bill Spencer when he feels his family is under attack.
So we know Bill can do it. He has the capacity. And his motive with Luna, it feels even more urgent, maybe more personal than it was with Amber, given that whole guilt factor.
Absolutely. The driving motive isn't just protection this time. It's deep personal guilt and this desperate desire for redemption. Bill desperately wants Luna out of Will's life once and for all.
Okay.
But the real complexity, the twist here, is that Bill feels immensely guilty because he was the one who originally helped Luna escape her earlier legal problems. Remember, he got her that pardon for the shooting incident.
Oh, right. I'd forgotten that connection.
And Bill now firmly believes, according to these sources, that if he hadn't played the hero, if he hadn't secured Luna's freedom, Will would never have been in the vulnerable situation that allowed her to manipulate him into this pregnancy.
Okay. So Bill sees Luna's current success, her plot working, as a direct, infuriating consequence of his own past attempt to be merciful. Or maybe worse, to play God.
Exactly.
His current dilemma is entirely self-made, in his eyes.
Precisely. Bill wants to right the wrong he made. He wants to correct his own past mistake. And it seems like by any means necessary. The sources suggest he might resort to some extreme act of violence that causes her to miscarry, or even kills Luna entirely. He sees this as the only way to redeem himself and solve the Luna and baby problem that he basically created.
Wow.
And if you connect this to the bigger picture of Bill's character arc, he does this repeatedly, right? He makes a massive, often illegal error based on misguided affection or power.
Yeah.
And then he uses extreme, often illegal violence, the moral shortcut, to try and fix the mistake. Violence against Luna becomes, for him, a way to correct his own ethical failure and protect his favorite son's future from the fallout of his misplaced mercy.
He was the original enabler.
And now he's poised to become the Terminator. It's quite the arc.
That is a powerful and frankly terrifying analysis of his character.
Okay.
Moving from the guilt-driven potential violence of Bill Spencer, let's shift over to the Forresters, specifically Steffi Forrester. Her motive is complex, too. It seems rooted in historical revenge, current self-preservation, and a frankly horrifying belief about genetic inheritance.
Steffi's return is going to be explosive.
The sources say she has lots and lots of reasons to try and kill Luna, and these reasons aren't abstract. They're deeply personal, physical. They predate this whole pregnancy drama.
Absolutely. Her historical motive is maybe the most compelling because she knows exactly what Luna is capable of doing firsthand.
Right. Steffi and Luna have a seriously bloody past. Luna tried to kill Steffi twice in 2 separate, incredibly dramatic attempts.
Yeah.
And you have to remember the scale of these attacks. Once with a wrecking ball.
A wrecking ball. You can't make this stuff up.
And another time, she tried to shoot her. This isn't just bad blood or a shouting match. It's a history of outright attempted murder.
And that history guarantees this profound present fear. Steffi, having survived those attacks, she cannot possibly look at Luna as just some passive victim in all this.
No way.
The sources predict that when Steffi returns, and there's a rumor she might be back right around the time the paternity results drop, maybe October 20th.
Oh, perfect timing.
Right. When she finds out Luna is not only alive, after everyone thought she was dead, but pregnant and living large at Bill's mansion,
Yeah.
she'll be absolutely horrified, terrified, and furious. Her return is going to be like throwing gasoline on the fire.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Steffi might just feel she can't go through this again. She'll be terrified Luna will come after her or someone she loves. Finn, her husband, or her son, Hayes. So the sources conclude, Steffi might decide Luna has to die once and for all so everybody can be safe. For Steffi, this act of violence almost becomes a matter of proactive, maybe even justifiable self-defense against a proven repeating killer.
Okay. That covers the personal survival-based motive, but the sources hint at a second, maybe even more chilling motive that goes beyond just immediate safety. This idea of the rotten DNA.
Right, and this raises this really important, kind of absurd, but very soap opera question about heritage and genetics. Steffi's concern goes beyond safety. It becomes about the bloodline, or what the sources literally term the rotten DNA running through Luna's maternal line.
You have to explain that lineage.
Okay, so we have to map this out clearly for you. The sources reference this crazy bloodline, starting with the notorious villainess, Sheila Carter,
Of course, Sheila.
who then passed down her, let's say, volatile nature to her daughter, Poppy. And now that instability supposedly runs down into Luna, and consequently into this unborn baby.
Oh, boy.
So Steffi, as a Forrester, as a sort of keeper of the family line, she may genuinely feel that this rotten DNA, it just needs to be stopped. Permanently.
That sounds dangerously close to eugenics. It's like an intellectualized justification for murder, viewing the baby itself as a genetic threat that has to be purged.
That's exactly how the sources frame it. The
Yeah.
belief is that this bloodline continuing is a bad idea because they are all crazy. It's this dramatic, almost eugenics-level motive that shifts the plot from just personal revenge to, like, legacy cleansing. It allows Steffi, at least in her mind, to act for the greater good of the Forrester and Finnegan families. ensuring their future stability isn't poisoned by Luna's supposedly volatile genetics.
It is truly fascinating how soap operas just weaponize genetics like that. Okay, now let's turn to Electra Forrester. She's Will's current girlfriend.
Right.
She obviously despises Luna. She's invested in Will getting free, and she's already gotten physical with Luna. She punched her recently, right?
She did. Though the sources do acknowledge Elektra is probably less likely to launch a, premeditated attack now that she knows for sure Luna is pregnant. That changes things a bit.
Okay.
However, the plot thickens because Will and Elektra are actually defying Luna's whole plan. They're staying together.
Which must infuriate Luna.
Absolutely. So the focus shifts. It's less about Elektra attacking and more about a scenario of reactive violence. Luna, enraged that her pregnancy plot completely failed to break up Will and Elektra and bind Will to her, she might just snap.
Okay, so Luna attacks first.
That's the theory. If Luna, just consumed by rage, goes after Elektra, or maybe even goes after Will Elektra, might retaliate purely in defense. The sources suggest Elektra could hit back hard. Hard enough to maybe kill Luna in self-defense, or at least injure Luna badly enough that she miscarries.
Ah, the accidental death or justifiable homicide scenario? That gives the writers a clean out for the killer, even if they're technically a good guy.
Precisely. It's a useful trope. The sources predict Elektra would feel terrible guilt about the baby, the innocent party here. But they stress she probably wouldn't feel much, if any, remorse about Luna herself pushing up daisies, as they put it.
Ouch.
This scenario is valuable for the writers because it solves the Luna problem but creates this huge, long-term moral and potentially legal dilemma for Elektra and Will. Lots of future story potential there.
Okay, that makes sense narratively. Now, this next section explores two angles I found really unexpected. Betrayal from within the family and the possibility of self-inflicted harm.
Yeah, these are interesting twists.
Let's talk about Grandma Lee Finnegan. Grandma Lee, she's maybe the most emotionally complex suspect here. The sources describe her as seriously regretting saving Luna's worthless, awful life.
The regret is eating her alive.
It's not just regret, though, is it? It sounds like crushing operational fury.
Lee is terrifying in this scenario. Precisely because she acted out of deep ethical compassion initially. And now that ethical commitment has just curdled into utter betrayal and rage. She put her entire life on the line for Luna. And Luna basically threw it all back in her face. Used her.
The sources really meticulously list the professional and legal risks Lee took when she saved Luna. It emphasizes the sheer scale of her potential loss. She risked everything.
Everything. Her medical license, her entire career as a respected doctor, her freedom.
She broke actual laws, sneaking Luna out of the hospital, systematically lying to everyone, including her own family, about Luna's death. She was literally harboring a fugitive, hiding Luna in that apartment after Luna shot Sheila and Liam.
And Lee thought she could fix her. She thought she could save and redeem Luna, using her medical skills, maybe a strict parenting approach to get her back on track.
But now?
Now she views Luna as completely irredeemable and just plain awful. Her fury stems directly from that ethical compromise she made. She sacrificed her entire professional standing for someone she now realizes is just a manipulative criminal. Her rage isn't just anger at Luna, it's self-hatred for the mistake she made.
And that self-hatred makes her dangerous.
Very. The sources show her boiling point is already dangerously high. They provide proof she can escalate to lethal violence without even thinking.
Right, we have to remember that recent incident where her frustration just boiled over into physical assault. The sources explicitly mention she almost choked Luna to death recently.
Yeah, that wasn't just a shove.
No, it
Brain.
proves her psychological stress can immediately translate into lethal hands-on violence. She doesn't need a weapon.
So the speculation is that Lee, in a similar fit of rage, maybe triggered by the paternity news or another betrayal, might finally just lose it and finish the job.
Yeah. How? What are the scenarios?
Well, choking Luna all the way to death, or maybe a more standard soap opera fare, shoving her down those grand mansion stairs.
Classic. Cool.
Or off a balcony, causing her to lose the baby or even die herself. Her motive is so complex, correcting her original ethical mistake, restoring her own sense of integrity, and at the same time protecting her family from the consequences of her own misplaced mercy.
Yeah.
It's all tangled up.
Okay. Deep breath. Now for the final and maybe most unexpected suspect, Luna herself.
Right.
We have to consider the very real possibility that Luna actually causes her own downfall. through recklessness or intense rage, or maybe even some kind of conscious or subconscious self-sabotage.
Luna is definitely highly emotional, very volatile.
She might feel completely betrayed that Will chose Elektra over her and the baby. The baby she, as the sources harshly put it, basically stole from Will while he was drunk. That feeling of betrayal, coupled with the immense pressure of the impending paternity test, it could trigger a massive emotional explosion.
And she might lash out. She could go after Elektra again, or maybe even Steffi when she returns. And in the ensuing struggle, she could wind up hurting herself while doing something devilish.
Or she hurts Will.
Could be. She could easily injure Will in some kind of physical fight, only to end up getting hurt herself in the process.
That feels like a classic narrative device, right? To free the hero, Will, without actually tainting another central character with the crime of murder.
Exactly. It's clean. The sources suggest Luna could just engage in some reckless act, maybe drinking heavily, getting into a fight, or simply ignoring her own health out of sheer despair or anger. Something that puts herself and her unborn baby in danger, ultimately leading to a miscarriage or maybe a near-death experience for her.
And that would achieve the same narrative goal, freeing Will.
Right, without anyone having to commit outright premeditated murder. It's often the easiest way out for the writers, dramatically speaking.
Okay, so, wow, what does this all actually mean? We've kind of reached the synthesis point where we need to consolidate the motives of these 5 major characters. We're spanning 2 powerful families, plus a core family member in lie, all of them with extreme and, according to the sources, well-justified motives to end Luna's pregnancy, her life, or potentially both.
It's quite the lineup.
It really is. Just to recap for you listening, we have Bill Spencer, driven by that toxic guilt and his history of solving problems with violence.
Right.
We have Steffi Forrester, motivated by historical revenge, and that bizarre, frankly terrifying belief in genetic superiority, the rotten DNA.
Sure.
We have Elektra, potentially acting in sudden reactive self-defense. We have Lee Finnegan, fueled by that overwhelming ethical regret and self-loathing over saving Luna in the first place.
Right.
And finally, we have Luna herself, possibly capable of self-destruction under all this immense pressure.
That point field for her.
It really is. And the central insight here, the thing that comes through loud and clear from all the sources, is this unified conviction. Luna is on borrowed time.
Yeah, it's treated as an absolute inevitability, not just a possibility. Her removal, one way or another, is framed as a narrative requirement for the story to move forward.
The ultimate goal, it seems, regardless of the method, whether it's a push off a balcony, a chokehold, a self-inflicted wound, or just a simple tumble down the stairs, is a happily ever after for Will.
Right.
Something, anything, must happen to Luna and or the baby, which would free Will from Luna for good. That freedom for the hero character, that's the narrative prize everyone's potentially fighting for, or that the story needs.
And this brings us to that kind of meta-narrative insight, doesn't it? The core observation driven by all these sources is the seeming inevitability of this pregnancy ending prematurely or violently. In the world of soap operas, that worst possible outcome, Will being confirmed as the father, often immediately triggers the most drastic, the most violent resolution. It escalates things instantly.
Kicks the plot into high gear.
Exactly. And what's key, I think, is analyzing why the sources spend so much time detailing all these homicidal motives when, as we discussed, a simple miscarriage is such a common plot device they could use.
Right. Why build up all these potential harderers?
It's because the specific, detailed justifications for Murder Bill's past violence towards Amber Moore, Steffi's almost eugenics-level rotten DNA theory, his immense personal and legal jeopardy, all of that serves to justify the maximum drama of a definitive death. A miscarriage creates temporary conflict, sure.
Yeah.
But a murder, that creates years of whodunit drama, legal battles, guilt, secrets.
It ripples outwards across the entire cast.
Precisely. The stage feels set not just for a dramatic conclusion to the pregnancy storyline, but for a potentially criminal one with much longer-lasting consequences.
Okay. This deep dive into the speculative narrative of The Bold and the Beautiful, it really shows just how incredibly high the stakes become when family legacy, personal revenge, and this need for self-correction all collide. The fact that the entire landscape of this fictional world seems to hinge on whether one pregnant woman lives or dies, that is high drama indeed. And it really demonstrates the immense power of the paternity reveal as a central plot device.
It's the linchpin.
It really is. Well, thank you for sharing all these sources with us and letting us unpack this really fascinating, definitely dark, and highly detailed piece of fictional drama for you, our listener.
Absolutely. And maybe one final provocative thought to leave you with.
Go for it.
Given that the sources really emphasize how common miscarriages are on this show, the quick way to resolve a conflict, and given that we know characters like Bill and Lai have already shown near-lethal intent,
Yeah.
which character would the writers actually choose as the final murderer if it goes that far? Choosing a popular central character like Steffi or Bill to commit outright murder rather than an accident or self-defense, that creates huge legal consequences, a long-running whodunit that would completely eclipse the short-term shock of just a miscarriage. Who gets saddled with that level of drama?
That's a really interesting question. Who takes the fall, and what does that mean for the show long term?
Exactly. Something to mull over as you wait for the final, potentially bloody resolution.